My name is Katja, I'm a self-taught photographer, and in this video I'm going to talk about my journey, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that I wish I knew before turning photography into part of my business. So first I'm going to talk about why I'm self-taught, because that's probably the most bumpy road you could ever choose. I have a dyslexia with numbers, meaning that I have had such a hard time understanding the ISO, shutter speed, aperture and stuff like that. I tried to watch like a million YouTube videos but never really figured it out. So I thought that courses would make me look stupid, and I honestly never understood the balance between all of those settings. So the way I learned it was just to spend like a million hours in the field, and eventually I figured it out. But it was not the easiest way. So if you have the option to actually do courses, I really recommend doing that, because it's probably going to speed up the process about learning all of the settings and how they work together. Today I'm quite happy that I'm self-taught, because it pushed me through like so many moments where I just wanted to quit. And being a photographer was never really in my cards. It was never a dream of mine, but somehow I kept finding motivation to keep going. The COVID lockdown was actually what gave me like the time and space to really understand all of the settings. So I could spend days in the field just trying to figure everything out, and this is actually the first photo I took that I was really proud of. So I rushed home and I wanted to see it on the computer, and I was so pleased and so happy, because I finally felt that everything was coming together and I finally understood how all of the settings were working. When I see this photo now, I'm like, it's not really a great photo, but it was motivation enough for me back then to keep going. So this is a reminder for me to you to save your bad beginner photos, because one day you may need it in order to see how far you've come. When I started, I thought that my photos were bad because I didn't have the right gear, but now I know that my skills are far more important than the gear. I got myself a very old and used Nikon to begin with, which I'm really happy about, because cameras are a bit like cars. The more photos you take, the more value it's gonna lose. Buying a completely new camera as a beginner isn't necessary. Thing is that you're gonna use so many shots just to practice. So if you buy a used one, you can actually get better gear, but for a lower price. And when I began to take photos, even if I had the best gear in the whole wide world, I wouldn't be able to deliver better results because I didn't understand the settings. So yeah, gear does matter, but you don't have to save up for years in order to get a really great new camera. You can start with an older one and then work your way up to get the actual camera you want. I don't know if burnouts are just a normal part of the journey, but I had several throughout the years. When I started photography, it was just on a hobby basis. I took photos of my own dogs, family's dogs, friends' dogs, and so on. And there were literally no expectations. People were just happy about what they got, and I had all the time I needed in order to call and edit the photos. When I turned it into a business, there were other expectations, because people were actually paying for the service they got. And I had a hard time figuring out what they expected. And I also had a hard time figuring out how much time do I need to spend on the calling and editing process. So in the beginning, I offered so many free and cheap sessions, but I eventually burned out because of them, because I was paid for the session, but I wasn't paid for all the hours I spent calling and editing. Another thing that caused a burnout or two was that I always compared myself to the best of the best photographers in the whole wide world. Hear me when I say don't do that. It's really not healthy for you, and you do you. I mean, photography is art, and your style shouldn't be compared to anyone else's style. It's great to seek inspiration and it's great to have ambition, but don't ever compare your work to anyone else's. So what I do to avoid burnout is that, first of all, and most importantly, that I never compare myself to anyone else. Second of all, I keep experimenting. So I'm an animal photographer, but I keep experimenting with other fun projects, so I don't get stuck in this niche that I put myself into. A typical advice you will get before jumping into photography is that you have to pick a niche. But in my opinion, you don't have to pick it before you start, you just have to figure it out as you go. I started as a dog photographer, but then I was open to other projects and I ended up working with a lot of other things as well. Picking a niche is great, both because it's going to be easier for you to find the clients and it's going to be easier for the clients to actually find you. With that said, I have tried out a lot of different niches in order to figure out where I wanted to place myself. So this is just a reminder that you don't have to figure out your niche completely before you get started. You can figure it out as you go and you can change direction if needed. When it comes to opportunities, there are so many. When I started, I only offered sessions to like private people, but I ended up working with companies and now I sell my photos as stock photos as well. My advice is to try out a little bit of everything so you figure out what you enjoy doing the most. It's possible to do private sessions, it's possible to work with brands, it's possible to do commercials. And then it's possible to go to events where you take like a lot of photos and sell them afterwards. And it's also possible to sell your photos as stock photos. But no, you don't have to figure everything out now. Just as with the niche, you can figure it out as you go. Just have in mind that there are endless opportunities. So if you don't enjoy private sessions, there are other ways to sell your photos. One of the things I struggled with the most when I got started was the pricing and the price structure. The first couple of years I wasn't paid for the driving, the calling, the editing and everything else than the session itself. I started off by making packages so people could go to my website, pick a package, pick a date. But I figured out eventually that it wasn't the best solution for me, so now people have to get in contact with me in order to book a session. This is giving me the opportunity to give a more customized price depending on the location, how much I have to drive, how many shots they want, what the photos should be used for, etc. So now I actually get paid for all the work that I do and my clients are getting a price that's matching the setup they want and the expectations they have. So seeking inspiration from other photographers are fine, but you don't have to copy paste and do the exact same. You can find your own way and figure out what's suiting you the best. The most charming thing about photography is that you're never done learning. Even if you have your niche, your strategy, your pricing and everything set, you still have a lot to learn. Learning is actually my way to stay motivated because even if I have my business established, I love to go out and seek more knowledge and more inspiration, and I love to learn new stuff. But remember that you don't have to learn everything at once. Take it step by step, otherwise it's going to be way too overwhelming. The only time I do free sessions now is if I have some special like methods or techniques that I want to practice. And in this case, I still think free sessions are fine because it's giving me the opportunity to work on some things I'm not ready to be paid for yet. The editing is probably what I underestimated the most when I started taking photos. When I first started, I just loved to go out and take photos, but I never really thought about editing, so all of my photos were completely natural until I realized that it's very limiting not to include the editing process. I only shoot outdoors, meaning that I never use a studio, so the weather and natural light plays a huge role. I use editing to remove noise and then to bring the photo closer to the real experience. I also use it to save photos in case of bad lighting or bad weather. I'm not really nerdy or very good at editing, and I typically just spend a minute or two per photo, but it's often making a great difference. Here is an example of a photo that got quite a lot of editing due to bad lighting, and it would have been discarded without editing. And here you'll see a photo that took me 1 minute to edit, but as you can see, it's making a huge difference from the original photo. I don't really enjoy editing photos, but it's worth gold, especially when you're shooting animals that's constantly moving, so you don't always have time to change the settings before getting a shot. Editing also gives you a chance to create a style that makes your work different. It took me quite a long time to find a good balance, and in the beginning I over-edited and my photos ended up looking worse than the original, but it's a learning process, and today I keep my edits simple as possible. Some people really enjoy editing and some people are able to make their photos look like part of a fairy tale. I'm just never gonna be one of those people. So how do you know when you're ready to start? And I'm not really sure I'm able to give you a clear answer to that because I really struggled to figure out when to start myself. I personally started when I felt very secure about the settings and the editing and all of these things. So I just made a Facebook post about that. I now officially offered sessions. I didn't have a website, I didn't have a booking system, I didn't really have a plan or anything. I just got started and then all of the other things came little by little. So no, you don't really have to have everything figured out before you start, but I think it's a good idea to have a goal, especially before you start paying money for the website and booking systems and all of these things. And remember that you will fail a lot of times before you get good. So don't give up just because things are getting hard. Starting photography can be a very lonely and very confusing way to go, but I'm pretty sure you'll get there, and I will write a few motivational things in the caption in case you need it. If you're about to jump into the photography industry, I wish you all of the best luck. And if you have any further questions about turning photography into part of your business, don't hesitate to ask questions in the comment section.